we'll see we'll see what it stands for, okay, and what it indicates, and how the study of Orientalism has opened up for the post-colonial studies and colonial learning. So we are going to say this today, and I'll try to make it very simple for you, because if you read the real text, the actual text, or mainly we read the introduction of Said's Orientalism, his approach is little high, little difficult. So I'll come down. I'll try to make it easy, and as always, I'll refer to your material explicitly while explaining, so that when you read, you'll be able to connect it. Okay. Now, students, this is Edward Said's Orientalism. First, I'll define Orientalism for you. I'll explain, how many levels of definitions are there in his in his introduction to Orientalism. Then I'll tell you what is the significance of that, what does it stand for, and what made Said create this kind of discourse. Okay. Now, initially, when this Orientalism was published in 1978, people's response was not good, especially the Orient people, the Orientalists. They did not like it much. They felt that this is a very abusing for the Orientalists. Okay, but there were another group of Orientals who appreciated it, who felt that new boundaries could be created of a thinking body could be created through Said's introduction of a new discourse. Now I'll tell you first what is who are Orientals, who are Occidentals. I'll tell you so that when I explain and when I define, you'll be able to connect it. Now, Orientalism is a thought, okay, and Orients are the people. All right. So Orientalism means the culture, the philosophy, the thought, the society, the social conditions as assumed by the West about the Eastern countries. That thought is Orientalism. What West thinks about East. So, who are the Orientals? We people. Okay. People living in the Eastern continents are the Orientalists. Okay. And those Western peoples are Occidentals. Okay. So we are Orientals, they are Occidentals. Now, how they assume us, how they think about us, how they create a discourse about us, okay, that actually, makes up to the study of Orientalism, according to Said. Okay, so Said doesn't confuse things. When he starts with his introduction of Orientalism, he defines for us what is Orientalism. Okay, so initially, see, I'm reading it out, his definitions. He makes a three-level definitions. Okay, first he says anyone who teaches, writes about, or researches the Orient, and this applies whether the person is an anthropologist, sociologist, historian, or philologist, either in its specific or its general aspect, is an Orientalist, and what he does or she does is Orientalism. So when they study about us, we are the Oriental people. When they study about the Orient, okay, and what kind of study? It can be anthropological, it can be sociological, it can be historical, it can be philological. So when they try to study about the Orients, they are the Orientalists, and the study that revolves around the Orientals is known as Orientalism. Okay, so what do you understand here? There are certain disciplines of studies. If you take those studies and you study about the Eastern people of the East, then you are making an Orientalist study. Okay, this is the first definition. Second, he says that Orientalism is a style. Now he says no, Orientalism is a style also. Style of thought. Okay, it is a style of thought based upon an ontological and epistem- epistemological distinction made between the Orient and the Occident. Okay, so here he says that it is a style of thought, okay, which is ontological and epistemological. So now see, he makes a little bit broad definition. He says that he talks about the nature of knowledge and the study of existence. Okay, so he says that Orientalism may also focus upon the nature of knowledge of whom? Of the people of the East, okay, of the Orientals. Okay, so when you study related to the nature of the knowledge of Orientalism, or you study about the existence of Orientalism, means how did Orientals exist? How did they evolve? So anything that you study related to the whole eastern part of the continent, then you are doing an Orientalist study. Okay. So see, he expands the area. He says that the very nature of the knowledge that you gain about Orientals, or you study about their evolution, about their existence, that study will also go under Orientalist study. Okay. And when you are able to clearly demarcate between the Orient and the Occidents, when you are able to do that, means you talk only about a specified group of people. So, he considers, not he, usually the West, people of the West, they consider eastern part of the continent as a single entity. Okay, they view the eastern part of the continent in an equal estimation, and that is the idea they form about the Orients. Okay, are you getting it, students? Are you getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, okay, fine. Now let me continue. Now again we'll move ahead to the next definition that he gives. He says that poets, means he now includes literature also. Poets, novelists, philosophers, political thinkers, economists, imperial administrators, even politicians and administrators, uh, okay, when they also view, or they make a study, they make a research upon upon the Orientals, their study will also be the study of Orientalism. Okay, so this is what he says. uh, Now he adds too many other areas also. So you can see that said is, talking about the different branches of academia who can divert their attention towards the study of the Orient by making an Oriental study of the Orientalists. Okay, so creative artists are here included. You can see politicians, administrators are included. So gradually he's making the whole body of study broader and broader. Okay, now what he says later, he says, taking the late 18th century as a very roughly defined starting point, Orientalism can be discussed and analyzed as the corporate institution for dealing with the Orient. This is very important. Please mark this. Dealing with it by making statements about it, authorizing views of it, describing it, okay, by teaching it, settling it, ruling over it. Just see. In short, Orientalism as a Western style for dominating, reconstructing, and having authority over the Orient. See, initially, if you read, you will see how biased is said, and said is saying how Western people should make a study to dominate or restructure the Oriental counterparts. Actually, he is not saying, or he is not introducing anything new. This mindset was already there by the Western people. Okay, Edward said is just clarifying this. He's trying to speak with clarity how those Western people are biased enough to think, and to think about dominating and restructuring it. Okay, he's just saying that. So there's no bias, but he's just making a study of their mindset, what they have for the Orientals. Okay, so what he's trying to say, corporate means uh, the body of people, and here the corporate specifies the people of the West. Okay. Okay, just hold on, students. Yeah. So corporate here means the whole group, the whole bunch of people of the West. Okay, those who have this sort of ideology. Okay, to deal with the Orientals. Okay, so how they're going to deal with us? So this part of thought is also comes under the Orientalist thoughts. When those people of the West, they aspire to teach us, as I was telling you in my earlier class, they thought that we are barbarians, so it is the white man's burden to civilize us. Okay, so their so-called thoughts that they had, that was also regarding Eastern people. So that part of, that body of thought, the corporate thought, okay, is also an Orientalist thought when they think about us in such ways. Okay, so this is what he is trying to say. Edward said, but you just think, learners, that how is opening up new areas of thoughts. Okay, he has clearly defined how they but by they I mean the Occidents, how the Occidentals have formed their area of thought for us. Okay, now this is how now we will also respond, we also post-colonial people. Okay, empire rights back means how the post-colonial people will respond to SAID's opening up of discussions. Now the post-colonial countries, okay, the countries belonging to this so-called Orientalist groups, how they they understand Orientalism, okay, and how they will respond is also very important. Okay, and it is very interesting also. So taking Orientalism, this book, it gives a sharp turning point towards post-colonial thoughts. So through this book, through the analysis of the discourse opened up by Edward said, we understood, okay, Orientalists think about us like this. Now we will respond. How we responded? We wrote. Okay. As I'm person from literature, so I can talk broadly about literature. People, the literary people wrote back. They showed us, they showed them through their writing. You were talking about restructuring us, you are talking about civilizing us. Okay, this is your thought about us. Okay, which was very much clarified by said. Now our post-colonial writers hit back. They wrote stories that showed how violent British people were, how transgressive British people were. Okay, how unassuming those people were. So we tried to show their clear faces mainly through our fiction writing, mainly through our autobiographies and biographies. We also responded them by making critical writing also about them. Okay, so this is how we responded. And who opened this discourse? It was mainly Edward Said. Okay, who initiated with this kind of discourse. So no, so Said doesn't only talk about literature, poetry, or novels, but he talks about different branches, politics, administrative people. In their ways, they assumed us. And when different branches of people, they felt that really in these areas, this is how they have made an oriental studies. People in our academia from different streams, they also responded likewise. Okay, so for said, makes a very deep examination of this, orientalist thoughts, and he says that orientalist thought. Now who thinks orientalists? The occidents. Edward said is saying how they think about orientalism, how they think about the people falling under the other side of the continent, the eastern part of the continent. So he's saying that occidents, made a very systematic, very much disciplinary order they brought to their thinking. Okay, and they understood that their culture, I'm talking about mainly European culture. Those European people, they thought that they are the ones who managed to um, produce the Orient. Okay, so their ideas in this disciplines of studies was also biased. So they thought, the Europeans particularly thought that that they are the ones who have produced the Orient. Means the discourse has been produced by them. Okay, so in different branches, they are the ones who have given a shape and formation of the Orientalist study. This is what is assumed by the European people, particularly. Okay, so to some extent, it is true that actually, they sitting there, they have produced their assumptions towards us. Okay, which is little bit, to a large extent, it is erroneous. They wanted to restructure us, they wanted to reform us, they wanted to reconstruct us. Okay, so this is what they assumed about us, that we need their help. Okay, but when we understood orientalism, when we understood said, we responded. Okay, we said that in the guise of white man's burden, you have tortured us, you have exploited us, you have looted our wealth, you have started this exportation of slavery. Okay, so you have created all the vices. So this was what shown by us as a response to their theory of Orientalism, their theory. Okay, it is we do not think about Orientals, we do not think about ourselves like this. They think about it. Okay, and then we responded to them. We also wrote back to them. So different branches of people, okay, anthropologists, sociologists, we people of literature, we try to show that actually, in the name of white man's burden, okay, in the name, by calling us uncivilized, you have actually exploited us. So that is the later thing. I'm saying this to make you a little bit clarified with this part. So Edward said is saying that actually they had formed one some, they, as I told you, they had assumed the whole oriental existence under one light only. Okay, through the study of orientalism, they have given a very limited idea about the orientals. Okay, so in this way, actually, the Occidents had produced the idea of the Orients. And how they have created this idea? They have tried to show themselves superior. They have tried to show that they had more power than the Orientals. Okay, and that is why they tried to make it. They were trying to make the Orientals little bit disciplined. Okay, now again and again, said is trying to make it very clear. He's trying to explain how the occidentalist thoughts about the Orients. So, okay, and then he says that, He says that this idea of Orientalism has been purposefully, broadly divided into geopolitical areas. Okay, and this area, this land mass is huge. Okay, and this whole huge landmass of eastern continent, they you know try to show that they have certain extent of understanding towards these broad areas of eastern countries. Okay, and they have actually understood the socio-cultural life of the people. Okay, they have seen things about the geopolitical entities of the eastern people. Thus they can make a proper critique of the whole area, and so that critique becomes the Orientalism. Okay, so now we see that different theories emerged from both the sides after Orientalism. From both the sides, different theories emerged. Okay, uh, in the field of anthropology, sociology, linguistics, race, history. Okay, and these critiques or these arguments that emerged from both the sides, from Occidental sides, from Oriental sides. Okay, they further they took Said's idea a little bit ahead. Okay, and if you talk about, particularly as I was talking, I was telling you that post-colonial theory, particularly, you will see how post-colonial theory mastered over all these disciplines. Okay, when post-colonial theory came, it mastered all the disciplines, and post-colonial theory was one of the go ahead of what Said had initiated in his Orientalism. Okay, and post-colonial theory became a very important part of academic research. And because post-colonial, it was only post-colonial theory that that justified uh, uh, how colonization. We were being colonized, and how our stand was justified. There was no one to justify or to see from our point of view. Okay, the plight, the condition was not being able to. Nobody used to focus from our point of view. Our means post-colonial point of view. It was what was assumed from the those Occidents' point of view. How they saw us. We did not have our own discourse. We did not have our own body of thought. I think in my earlier class also I was telling you the same. But when post-colonial theory emerged, that was the whole justification of colonialization. It showed how how one-sided was the theory and idea of the Occidentals. It completely it became a very pure, okay, impartial political balance between the Orientals and the Occidentals, or you may say the colonizers and the post-colonials. Okay, so so this is the kind of contribution that Said had who initiated with this idea. So this has to be accepted what Said has said, so that further work, further research could emerge from the eastern side as well. Okay, and the eastern side, mainly the post-colonial countries, those countries which were once dominated by British rule, they have the first-hand experience. Was it really that the British had come to develop us? Or was it that in the name of development, the Indians, if you talk about Indians, they were exploited. Okay, they were looted. Their freedom was at stake. Okay, our freedom had completely gone. So this area, this thought emerged only after Seth's Orientalism. Okay, okay. Now, Uh, further, we will try to scan Edward Said's Orientalism, and we'll see how it became, a main idea of knowledge. Okay, in main idea of Orientalist knowledge, and how Occidentals are perceiving until then about the Orientals. Okay, so after that, when post-colonial theories were formed, the whole debate or the whole argument changed. Now the whole world saw the new face of the Orientals. Okay, who they were. Okay, how they represent themselves. Okay, why were not they able to create a voice till now? Because uh, post-colonial theory started quite late in 20th century. You can say little later part of the 20th century. So till then, why they were silenced? So all these answers were slowly solved. The puzzles now became very much solved. The solution was sought out. Okay, and that was done only with the help of post-colonial theories. Now, students, if you think that it is going little above you, please do ask me. Okay, yeah, if doubts are emerging or problems are emerging, please do ask me.
Yes, ma'am. Please repeat what did you said in the last.
Okay, you somebody asked is asking about which block. This is the last block. Okay, which we are doing. Am I right? Last block we are doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and tomorrow when we meet, as I told you, one part I have not told you because that is the repetition again and again of the past blocks.
Okay.
These things are more important, so I'm telling you. Okay, you are asking me to repeat,
Yes, ma'am.
promise. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
have you understood what is post-colonialism?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Post-colonialism means those countries which were colonized, after independence from British colonial domination, those countries, let us take only literature, because if I talk about other fields, that will become broader, not necessary for you, and it will be difficult for you to understand. And for me to make you explain, that will become broader. Let us take literature. Okay. Post-colonial literature are particularly those literature which are written after our independence. All right, after our independence, and especially when we spoke about oppression, when we spoke about about domination, about being mistreated, okay, by the higher authorities. So those literature went under post-colonial theories. Got it? Now, it started with our oppression against British. When we wrote how British used to exploit us, they treat us bad. So what was going on at that time? Literature was being made about British, power. The power they were using on us. Okay, may it be political power. Okay, may it be their military power or whatever. When they were using on us, initially we started with that, but later you must know that not only British colonizer and colonized, or British colonizer or Indian colonized, post-colonial theory only confines to that. No, it talks about any power politics. Means anyone superior, when he's trying to, so-called superior, is trying to oppress the so-called inferior. That also came under post-colonial theories. For example, yesterday we went through Dalit literature. Okay, when a person of a high caste is suppressing in the name of religion. Okay, when he's trying to suppress the, he's trying to misuse. Okay, or if he mistreats the Dalit person. Okay, that also comes under post-colonial theory. Means anyone holding an upper hand when he will try to exploit the person at the lower part of the hierarchy. Okay, so that everything will go under post-colonial theory. Now you got my point. Only this much. Then I'll go to Edward said. Understood this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see what said is saying. Just imagine in your mind a globe has been divided into two broadly according to say. Okay, now those western people, and we are little narrowing down to European people. Okay, they are the occidentals. Okay, we are the orientalists. We means the people belonging to the eastern side of the globe. Okay, we are the orientals. Now when initially we did not have a body of knowledge of our own that we were discussing for the past 5 6 classes. Okay, we came to know that the systematic study or the systematic education, this idea we gain from the west. Okay, so we did not have a body of knowledge that was completely western. Okay, we wrote, no doubt we had great Upanishads and Vedas, everything was there. But like them we did not contain libraries and shelves and stocking them, making copyrights. Okay, we did not we were not like that. We wrote, we just wrote. Okay, now they had libraries and all systematic study. Now they came to explore us. Okay, when British people came to India, they came to explore us. They were came to do business with us, whatever, so on and so forth. We did not go. Now, when those Europeans started traveling, when they saw this whole Orientalist group, okay, now they assumed. I am not saying that they are right or wrong. I don't. Or I am not saying that. They assume that people, the Eastern people, the Orientals, they are not civilized. They are not cultured. Okay, they are not systematic, and we will under the white man's burden. They made that catchphrase and they said we will civilize them. And while assuming that they are going to civilize them, they made their literature on us. Okay, trying to show that we needed civilization. They wrote not only literature from different areas, they showed they showed a face of us, we people, when we did not have a proper self representation mode. Okay, now, what according to said, what assumptions they had formed about us, what bulk of books they have written about us. By us, I mean the people from the East. Okay, whatever they have done, that study will go under the study of Orientalism. Understood, promise?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what they will write about us. So isn't that important? Where we came to know after independence, particularly, we came to know that they have this kinds of false assumption about us. Okay, and mainly said showed us that they have this kind of said reached each and every university. Okay, we people started reading Edward said as a compulsory part of our English honors studies. Okay, so we got face to face about what they thought about us. They thought that they will restructure us, they will reform us, they will civilize us. So, what we did, we started writing back under the name of post colonial literature, post colonial writings. We wrote, okay, through our critical works, through our essays, through our fiction works, through our biographies, autobiographies, through a different literary genres. We wrote back that was not restructuring or reforming us, that was exploiting us. We wrote, Africans wrote, okay, South Africans wrote about exploitations. So this was the answer back that they got. They had to read about themselves and their exploitation through our literature, not theirs. Their writing was biased and one-sided. Who showed this? Mainly Edward said this. Okay. So after Edward said the writing, many other theories came up. They supported Edward Said's argument. Okay. Yes, Mona Lisa, any question?
Yeah, ma'am. So only Indian comes under Orient or the all the
No, no,
Asian
no, no.
countries?
The whole eastern part of the continent, but mainly you can say that mainly the post-colonial countries. Mainly, our study is relating only to those countries which were being dominated by the British. You know, there was a
Okay, ma'am.
time, Mona Lisa, I was telling you that British military power was very strong. They were the superpowers, isn't it? And they had already captured so many countries. They were that's why in my initial class I told you, no, they said that sun never sets in Britain. That means if in London it is night, then in India that might be afternoon or late morning. So then in other post-colonial country, it might be early morning. So they were so much biased. All right. Now, mainly this idea of superpower that they claim themselves superpower. They were so proud, so boastful people. But when they got a final bang in World War II, when they lost, okay, and when US gave a blast through the nuclear explosion, then from World War II onwards America claims to be the superpower. We were all shocked to see how Hiroshima and Nagasaki was devastated. It was unprecedented. That blast was unprecedented. Okay, after that you can see that this British imperialism they kept shut. Okay. And then see how America is rising gradually in its, colonizing strategies. But again, that's a different matter. And there is no doubt that our country is also encountering, it is also reaching new heights of success and technological development. So now that whole power play has shifted. Okay, so now you can see that we Orientals have also gained our voice gradually. Okay, could you understand? Now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Promise, am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, others, other students in the group, am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am.
Very good. Now let me proceed. What I was saying, yes, we are going to see more broadly about what Said is saying, because you will see that as I also have told you that this is going to broaden our view about occidentals biased assumptions and orientals way ahead. You will see. Okay, now you can see Said has made a very comprehensive, very theoretically, he has drawn a map between the Occidents and the Orients. Okay. So, he has brought into the forefront a very interesting critique of socio political interest. Because, uh, uh, actually, Said is trying to say that the study of Orientalism, it has very less respect for for the point of view, for the cultural involvement of the Eastern people. Okay, so you see that Said is also say trying to say that. Um, uh, that you have to broaden your boundary. Okay, you have to go ahead, you have to a little bit go to the others boundary of studies, other academic fields you have to encroach upon in order to make a clear and successive research of whatever is going on between the Orientals and the Occidents. So in this way you can see that a new scope of social sciences have also emerged. He is asking to transgress boundaries, go ahead. Don't limit yourself only with your stream of studies. You have to go ahead. Okay, you have to, take interdisciplinary approach in order to understand the whole political system, the whole cultural system of the Orientals. Okay. Okay. Now, now you can see that mainly Said is giving a critical attack. This is a work of criticism. Okay. And if you read Said's book, Orientalism, you will see that more than any other field of research, he is actually very much trying to talk to the people of literature. Okay, you can see that this helps us develop an interdisciplinary studies. We can, people of literature, we can go a little bit to the sociological study of Orientalism. We can go to a little bit anthropological study. He has initially given us vast scope. Okay, but if you read ahead with his book, then you will find he's mainly pointing out to the community of the people of literature. Okay, like himself, he was also a man of literature. Okay, and he says that it is very much important for the people of literature, not important, it is very much relevant for the people of literature, particularly because people of literature can make a very fruitful study on the interrelationships between society, history, and textuality. Okay, we have texts. So we will be able to connect those texts, may it be fiction or non-fiction, but we will be able to connect those texts with the society and the history. We will be able to make a connection. Okay, we will be able to find a fine balance between culture and politics also, so that we reach to some ideological and logical point of view. Okay, so mainly he talks about the importance of this study for the people of literature. It will help us to explore more, okay, on different aspects of our society. Okay, and then he says that mainly Orient should read this. Okay, he doesn't talk about the Occidentals. No, he says that mainly the student should be current Orient, means belonging to the eastern part of the continent, of the globe. Okay, so he says that contemporary student who is an Orient, he should study. Okay, and who should study? A university student can study, and the policy maker, the ones who are sitting and making policies, they can also study. It will be helpful for them. So he says that he talks about the other section of the society that could also study that. Third, people of the section are the general readers, okay, who want to know about the Western point of view about us. Okay, and those who want to gain the knowledge, what is this power of us versus them. If you want to know how this Western concept of us versus them emerged, how this politics came into the forefront, if you want to know how this demarcation was created, especially by the West, then you can read it. Okay, and especially this could better be understood by the third world readers, because third world readers and their ancestors, they have a lived experience of this. Okay, and Occidents, whenever they will be reading, they'll be reading with a certain amount of bias. Okay, so he's saying that you know all of us, especially we Orients, we should, take out some space for the reading of such kind of studies, of the study of Orientalism. Okay, so in his book, throughout the book, he is searching, he's questioning Orientalism. Okay, with the help of different texts, with the help of different authors, he's trying to search and prove that this theory of Orientalism does exist. Okay, it exists. So he was a professor of literature. He was a professor of criticism also, and he guides the readers properly to understand how through literature you can point out that, see, the theory of Orientalism is there. The theory is contained in that text, in that piece of literature. Very critically, he tries to show it to the readers. Okay. Now, Said has, it is there in your material, that Said has a Palestinian background. Okay, yeah, so that means that he has a little bit of Orient, the experience of an Orient. Okay, and in his study, Oriental study, he's acknowledging that he was grown up in Palestine, and he was in Egypt also, because both of them were British colonies. So he was able to connect the the British treatment of these post-colonial countries. Okay, and he's trying to show how how their culture tried to dominate this eastern culture of Palestine or Egypt. Okay. Now let's see what is Orientalism's afterward, because it is said that, if you cannot read the book, then you can at least read the introduction at the afterward. Now let's see what is important here in Said's afterword to Orientalism. Now, afterword to Orientalism was published in 1995. See, so late. Okay, and here, said published this after so many years, about 20 years later, uh, uh, from the publication of his Orientalism. Now, actually, here it says that he is trying to some misreadings were done. Okay, maybe some misunderstandings have been created. He wanted to correct them. That is why he writes one afterword. Okay, and and in his afterword he does the second thing, that was, he was trying to strengthen his argument about Orientalism. Okay, and he said that what kind of intellectual development he had after Orientalism was published. He gained more experiences, more ideas, which he is putting up in his afterword. Okay. So initially he says that some misreadings were done. Okay. And there were purposefully many lines of said were misread. Purposefully they were done. Okay. But here, our study, our university syllabus, it doesn't lay much stress to those misread part. Okay. What is important for us is the second part of his afterword. Now, in the second part, he gives a broader emphasis on the political developments that took place in the whole of the globe. Okay. Excuse me. So the kind of political development that took place globally. Uh, okay. After the publication of Orientalism, and he talks about the different criticisms that followed, the changes that happened globally after this Orientalism was published. So it is said that afterward is very important, because both things came into existence after this afterward. Post-colonial studies flourished still more, and the decolonizing of the mind also took place. Decolonizing of the mind means, colonizing means the feeling of being suppressed, of being dominated. Decolonizing is just the opposite, the liberalization of the
Ma'am,
mind.
there was a writer, Nogyu Thong, I guess.
Yes, yes, Gugi Wathon, no?
Yeah,
Yes,
Googie. Yes, ma'am, Noogie.
yes. Tell me.
And
You
we
should.
have to study
Okay.
that also.
Of course, you have to. Okay, now
Okay,
see,
ma'am.
that is a different context. Let us focus here. Let us first finish said. Okay. Now, yes, he says that yeah, for us the second part of his afterword is important because where I was. Huh. So he says that after his Orientalism was published, how further criticism was made, and yes, what I was saying, how decolonizing of the mind also took place.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Yes,
colonizing and decolonizing difference.
yes, I will explain. I'll explain to you. See, colonizing means uh, when you have when you develop a kind of fear, when you develop a kind of being dominated, when you develop the fear of not being free. Okay, that is colonizing of the mind. And who was colonizing then? The British Empire was colonizing each and every Indian mind. Okay, they, they created a sense of awe towards us, for us. Okay, we were scared. They mistreated us, so we were scared. We were beaten up. We were facing violence. So what was happening? That is what is called colonizing. Psychologically you can say we were being suppressed. Okay, we were being, we were weakened. Okay, decolonizing is just the opposite. When the British went away and when these kinds of theories were written, we felt empowered. So the feeling of empowerment, again, take it in the psychological level. When they have left, okay, so when we have no more fear of them, now we became bold enough to write about their violence and mistreatment. Once we were scared, we couldn't do that. But now, after independence, under the realm of post colonial studies, we can write, we can express. So, what we are doing, we are decolonizing our mind, means we are clarifying our mind against those fears which we had contained years back due to British mistreatment. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Am, am I clear, Ashalata?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, fine. So that is what is decolonizing the mind. Now this afterward had also several other factors that helps the scholar for the post colonial studies. Now he says that kind of public consciousness has been created. Okay, and the western domination is now unproven, and newer ideas are coming up. Newer criticisms have been made, like subaltern thoughts have also been created. Subaltern also means the suppressed class. Gayatri Spivak later wrote, can the subaltern speak? So subaltern means the suppressed class. She says that can they speak? So this writing also is a decolonizing of our mind, when we are daring to write what we feel about them. They always wrote about us very freely. They talked about us as uncivilized and uncultured, uncouth people. But now, after this whole event went through, when Edward said published it and he divided it, post-colonial body started. Okay, then we also, try to cleanse ourselves by writing about these different classes of the society who are very silent. So one of the classes is subaltern. Subaltern. Subaltern class means the suppressed class. So she says that, ask the question, can subaltern speak? Can we have our voice of our own? Okay, so can we decolonize us? In other words, this is what she's questioning. Okay, so uh, so to wind up Edward said's idea, Orientalism actually showed us what they have achieved. Okay, those Orientalism, Oriental, what West has achieved. Okay, and it is a kind of indirect attack towards them, because always their point of view is prejudiced and one-sided. Okay, and uh, he says that said is very much interested whatever study is there within the body of oriental text, and his arguments, his thoughts, it gave way to many other new research, many new initiation of many new theories. Okay. Now we'll move to the next section. Now we come to the literature and the idea of nationalism that came up immediately after independence. What nationalism felt for different authors, for different people. Okay, so this also, from here we start with the post-colonial theories and post-colonial writings. Okay, now here it says that even in your material, that Ahmad and Jameson, they became a very prominent the people, okay, to understand the third world, and they initiated with the new theory. Okay, so we will study this. The theory of third world literature. This was defined by Jameson. Okay, and it was redefined by Ahmad. That is what we are going to see. What is third world literature? So I don't think this is going to be very difficult for you. Third world literature means our countries. Third world countries means specifically if you see the post-colonial countries which remained a little poor, okay, which could not develop because of the British domination and loot. They looted away so much of our wealth that to a large extent we remained behind. In the level of economy, we remain behind. So these are the third world countries. And the literature written by them is third world literature. Okay, so here our literature, our section of the study is trying to connect literature with nationalism. Okay, so you see that when British literature was written, or with the British literature was written with the conception of third world countries, then always they try to justify their superiority. Isn't it? They try to justify their colonial life. Okay, there were many writers at that time who tried to show their position, justify their position. All right. And there were many writers here, it's given in your text also. D.S. Lawrence, he tried to show that London is the heart of the whole world. Okay, so they took a lot of pride on their own culture. They, nobody can um, deny the fact that they wrote from their, location, showing their pride, showing their status, their sophistication. but but these newly emerging countries like India, okay, we try to revive this whole body of thought and literature. We revive nationalism. For them, London meant nationalism. For us, a love and a attachment towards our country, and our wish to free our country from any sort of domination became our national theory, the theory of nationalism for us. All right. Okay. Now, moving ahead. Uh, yes. Now we will see about what theory they develop. What is this third world theory? I'll try to make it understand. Now, this theory of third world literature it mainly comes from Marxist perspective. Okay, you have, it is very important for you to mark this. It comes from the Marxist perspective. You have to note this. Okay, and post-colonial, under post-colonial theory, there are various other theories. Okay, and sometimes there is a kind of argument also between theories regarding different study that comes under post-colonial theory. Okay, uh, here you can see that Ahmad is also disagreeing with Jameson's theory of third world country. There's some noise. Please silent yourself. Mute yourself. Okay. So yes, here you see that Ahmad did not agree with what Jameson says about third world country. Okay, Ahmad actually had a very radical materialistic position. Okay, and he had an argument with the point of view of Marxist theory that related to Jameson's idea of the third world. Okay, now, in his book, Jameson's Rhetoric of Otherness and the National Allegory, Ejaz Ahmad gives his own idea of nationalism in 1987. Okay, so Ahmad here is first searching for Jameson's concept in his book. Okay, concept of how the world is divided, because Jameson has divided the world into three categories: first world, second world, and third world. Okay, and then he talked about the first world and the third world. Who? Jameson. Now, Ahmad argues here that he says that no, there is no category like third world literature. That is not possible. Okay, because you have to be clear. You have to say what does it suggest. So Ahmad here gives some examples. He says that no, it is not possible to construct another theory of third world literature. So he tries to justify, because he says that the vast majority of literature is produced in Asia and Africa. Okay. And it is mostly these literatures produced in Asia and Africa, they are written in their own regional language. Okay, so we people or these theorists like Ahmad or Jameson, they are not able to handle those literature because that is not in an understandable language. It is in the regional language. Okay, so that is why he says that that is why he says that few people only, they have got some idea about, few critics particularly, they have got some idea about the about the fluency of different Asian and African languages. Okay, and other theories are unknown. So how can you know that this is third world literature unless you don't know their language? Understand? You can't understand, cannot read through their lines what they are saying. Okay. Yes. So he argues that we don't know the languages. So under what conditions or terms are we going to call them third world? Okay. So he says that this definition is not correct. Jameson's definition is not correct. Yes.
Johnson categorized
Your
the
voice
first
is
world,
breaking,
second
ma'am.
world, and third world literature.
What? What?
Johnson categorized the first world, second world, and third
And
world
third one.
literature.
Okay. But listen, he says that the literature can be divided into three phases. Okay. Who? Jameson said. But
Johnson.
Ahmad is saying, What's his name? Jameson, no? Jameson, yes, Jameson said. And
Yes.
but Ahmad is refuting. He is saying that if you do not know their languages, because initially Indians were not very well versed with Indians or Africans were not very well versed with English. So regional writers, just hold on. Yeah, I got disconnected. So what I was explaining, he just said that this is world war, this is second war, this is third war. But Ahmad disagreed. He said, how can you talk about those literature unless you know them? They are written in their regional languages. Okay. So how could you understand and how could you bring them under some proper frame? So Ahmad actually, I think his name is Ejaz Ahmad. He gives a broader and proper definition of third word. Okay, so Ahmad, takes the whole issue very broadly, and he defines first word. Okay, so how does he define first word? You can make a note. It is there in your in your material, you might not be able to find. So make a note and remember this. Ahmad Coin, he said that first world is the capitalist world. Okay, the capitalist first world. Those who are very much materialistic minded. Okay, capitalistic first world. Second world, he says, is the socialist bloc. The socialist bloc is the second world. And third world are those countries which have suffered colonialism and imperialism. Third world countries have suffered colonialism and imperialism. Now, this is how he gives a clear picture. All right. So, first world is materialist world, second world is socialist, third world is depressed countries. Okay, suffering colonialism and imperialism. All right. So this is how we got a proper definition of first, second, and third world. Okay. So you can see first and second world very what do you say, very active, whereas third world is kind of passive and subservient. Okay. Now, this is how he divides, and then he says that the literature coming under this third world, under this, suppressed countries, suppressed by colonialism and imperialism, the literature that is coming out will be termed as third world literature. Okay. Now, Ahmad, further gives his critical ideas. He says that can you exactly say that you are existing in third world in terms of this definition? Now we are no more colonized. Okay, many of us are not many, but few of us are so rich that we are enjoying a first world type of materialistic life, isn't it? So don't you think that these three worlds are little merging with each other? Now don't take three world very much literary here in our context. First world only means America and Europe, second world means those socialist countries, third world country means suppressed countries. No, just think. Are you listening, learners? This is important.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just think of it. Okay, don't think about countries, but the think about our life conditions. Okay, now suppose I live in a third world country. Okay, because it was once dominated and uh, we were tortured. But now suppose I am living a highly materialistic life. I'm very rich. Okay, the richest class of the society, the cream of the society, and I'm enjoying my lifestyle just like the first world. So isn't the boundary getting blurred between first and third world?
Yes, ma'am.
Suppose, yes, I am a very hardcore socialist. Okay, and I live according to those theories of socialism. Okay, so don't you think again my third world identity is getting churned up with my socialist thoughts of second
Yes.
world? Yes, it is. Okay, suppose an American living in California. Okay, suppose a woman living in California. She is, a victim of domestic violence. She is victim of sexual violence when she is at workplace. Okay, she is a victim of physical abuse. Okay, if she earns, then her money is snatched away by her husband at home. So, don't you think that she is living in first world, but she contains the life of a third world? She's being dominated. She's being mistreated. Okay, her sexuality is exploited. So, don't you think that her condition is that of a third world?
Yes.
She cannot.
Yes,
Yes, she
yes,
cannot.
yes, ma'am.
And so This is what we see. This confuses the first, second, and third world. But, however, to make certain things static, what we do, we we confine it, because again if we talk about all these things it will be very confusing. We keep the words different. First world, these and these countries. Second world, these and these countries. Third world, so we have categorized. So this has been done, initiated by Jameson, but very properly set by Ahmad. Okay. So these three worlds have been divided for the sake of production of a properly marked literature, properly defined literature. Okay, so if an
Ma'am,
American,
please explain again second word.
second world means those countries which are socialists. Okay, socialist countries. So which countries can you say are socialist countries? Tell me.
China.
I'm Russia.
Okay, means they very much Russia particularly, who
Actually,
particularly,
ma'am,
yes.
actually, USSR was the one who was implementing socialism in starting, but
Sorry,
after declining,
I cannot hear. Tell me.
yes, ma'am, I was saying that in starting, when USSR was there and the Cold War was happening in between
Absolutely right. Yes.
yes, ma'am, between 1945 to 1990, USSR was
Yes.
Second World
Absolutely. Yes.
that was related to declining of USSR. We can say that Russia is the one, uh, and
You're right. Yes. Shivani, you're absolutely right. So you found at the time when USSR was transforming into Russia, you must have seen, if you're people of literature, uh, you know those typically socialist oriented books were also written, book of literature were written. Unlike, uh, so means giving high regard, high value to the socialist form of uh, society. Okay, of governance, and to some extent you can say that Switzerland, no, not Switzerland, no, Russia, you can say, is a big example
Vietnam.
of socialist country.
Ma'am,
Okay,
Vietnam
yes.
also. Cuba and Vietnam.
Yes, Cuba, Vietnam, they are there, but the major country is Russia. And you can see many theories also coming out of Russia that justifies the Russia as the second world. Okay. Now, so this is how we clarified, we distributed the whole idea of first, second, and third world country. Okay, and that was very much initiated by Jameson and followed by Ahmad. Ahmad, with his argument, he proved that this is how study should be done according to the geographical location. Okay, now moving on. So here it says that how the canons were formed of third world literature. Here it is given in your material. It says that um, Jameson said that some third world literature, some syllabus should be made, okay, and non-canonical syllabus should be made on third world literature. Now, Ahmad says that no, canon construction is necessary, okay. And what are the mechanism of canon construction? Number one, being considered major literary figures by American Academy. American Academy has to uh, accept that some literature is a major literary piece or some literary figure is a major literary figure. Then prestigious award should be win. Then they have to be taught routinely in literature courses. So, and number four, being reviewed favorably by major literary journals. I'm telling you. So Jameson said that no, when third world literature is written, it should be canonical. No fixed rule should be there. But Jameson, but no. Canons will be set. Under what conditions? That this American Academy should acknowledge one piece of literature, yes, it is a substantial work. Suppose, for example, Amitabh Ghosh Shadow Lines, for example sake only, I'm telling you, uh, Shadow Lines is a big piece of literature, major. Okay, it's a classic, but it belongs to third world. So American Academy, they have to accept that yes, Ghosh is not shadow. Let's take for example Hungry Tide. Hungry Tide, yes, it will accept that yes, it is major figure. Then it will become a canonical work. What is the second term? That it should receive awards. Okay, prestigious awards. Nobel Prize or Sahitya Academy, many other prizes are there given by many prestigious institutes. So if that book receives many prize awards, okay, then third condition is that it has to be taught in different universities. Fourth condition is that in journals also favorable reviews has to be written, that yes, this book is good book, it's a substantial book, it gives us scope to study the anthropology of, say for example, Sundarbans, if you consider Hungry Tides. So good review should also come. Then that will become a canonical study, it will set up some canon. Okay, and here Ahmad gives examples of many writers, including Naipaul, Edward Said, Salman Rushdie. He gives many names of substantial writers who can contribute in the formation of canons. Okay, now you can see that Jameson. Jameson's full name is Frederick Jameson. Ahmad's full name is Ejaz Ahmad. How both of them, one started and one initiated with the third world literature. Okay, and they said that mainly both of them agreed that third world literature should address the issue of colonialism and imperialism. You have to express your experiences about colonialism and imperialism. Okay, and they said that all third world texts have to be a national allegory, means they should have some national emphasis. Whole nation can connect, okay, to that particular perspective of the book of or of the novel. Okay, now really third world productions have been done, and the whole nations nowadays, we can attach ourselves to those literature, and when we are able to attach ourselves, connect ourselves with that literature, then you can say that yes, it goes under the canonical studies. Okay, if you are not able to attach yourself, you says what this is talking about some region we cannot connect, that won't go under the canonical study. But when you are able to attach, suppose Amitabh Ghosh talks about Sundarban forest or the changing ecology of, so we can connect it. Okay, we can connect it to our areas and the impact of global warming or climate changes. We can connect. Okay, so in that way, it becomes a canonical study. Now, we have already discussed what is decolonizing the mind. Okay, same thing is written here. Wait, let me just check this. And I'll repeat this for you as well. Now, this typical title has been given, as you were saying, I think Promise was saying, that Gugi Wathyong O, she had written a book, Decolonizing the Mind, The Politics of Language in African Literature. Okay, so again, this African writer Wathyong, she initiated what does it mean to decolonize your mind? What will it take to decolonizing your mind? And she is talking from the perspective of African literature. Now students, decolonizing means not only you should overcome with your with your the shock that you have already gained from your past. You have lost your self confidence, self respect. You have lost, you have started feeling yourself inferior, and as a result, what you do, you blindly imitate the West. Don't you do that? You blindly imitate the West. Okay, so by dressing like them, by adapting their language blindly, by thinking that their culture is superior than yours, so you are still colonized. Okay, when you are too much fascinated by the Western culture. Alright. So in every respect, you have to decolonize yourself. You have to gain back your identity. Okay. Due to the British rule for so many years in our countries, we have lost. We have become servile. Okay. So you have to gain back your um your original identity that connects you with your nation, instead of getting blindly fascinated by the Western counterpart. You have to again get back to your roots, which is very much of your country. Here she's saying about Africa, I'll say about India. So we have to come to our roots. Okay, and we have to decolonize it. We have to dismiss the thought that whatever belongs to us is inferior, whatever theirs is superior. They are so fair complexioned, we are black, we are dark, we are tan. Okay, so just dismiss your idea, leave away your fear or awe towards them. Okay, so that is how you will be able to decolonize your mind. So if you try to imitate them in some way or the other, okay, maybe their culture, maybe their eating habits, then you're still colonized. When you overcome that, when you develop your individuality, okay, when you show your attachment more towards your culture, you are no more in fear or awe towards them. You don't think them superior and yourself as inferior. Okay, you don't feel yourself slaves to them, then you are decolonized. Otherwise, you are not. Okay. Yeah, acha, from the Indian point of view, this writer Namwar Singh, he has written an essay. Okay, from the Indian point of view of decolonization, decolonizing the Indian mind. Okay, so uh, he says that this is the most significant thing that we have to do in this 20th century. Okay, so the anxiety that we have, okay, because of colonial domination, that has to be overcome. And learners, even when we are in a language, through a language also we can decolonize. Suppose, for example, very good example I can give you. I think in my earlier classes also I was telling you that during, I think it was probably late March or early April, I was in Utkal University attending one seminar. They were talking about the same thing, decolonizing the language. Means they were talking about translation. Some experts had come, translators had come. They were talking about their experiences and how to decolonize yourself with respect to your language. So those experts were saying, even people had come from Singapore or Mauritius somewhere, although that was an online. What actually they said, decolonizing may mean that suppose there is an English book written in English, you can translate that into your local language. Okay, the language in which we are very well versed. Or sometimes what we do, our language, one book is there, a very, a classic book in our local language is there. What we do, for wider readership, we translate that into English. That is well and good, because if it is written in English, we'll have broader readers, isn't it? But they said that apart from that, what you can do, you can translate into some other language also, some other Indian language. Suppose some but we'll have to develop proficiency in that other language also. Suppose there's a piece of literature in Keralian language. So we can, Malayali language, we can convert that into Odia language, translate that into Odia language. So that also will be a process of decolonization. Instead of, taking everything in English, we can do work within ourselves also. Or say, for example, if that person had come from Singapore, so whatever is their language, so if we do work in collaboration, then our Odia writing can be translated into their language, so that people of Singapore also could read about our Odia literature. Okay. So, they said that in this way also decolonization could happen. So, instead of just blindly translating things into English, we can think about many other languages. Okay. So that other languages we could also get a boost apart from English. So, this is how we can contribute to the colonized languages as well. Okay. So it was a very good idea, a very appreciable idea that was given. So I added a little bit of my personal experience with you. Now, yes. So Namvar Singh here, he also talks about how decolonization is needed, and then he says that we have to, completely leave this idea of new colonialism. Okay. According to Namvar Singh, new colonialism is taking place. Means again, new theories are coming up, which again brings back a lot of colonial thoughts. Okay. Now, Gayatri Spivak comes to the forefront now, and she shows that no, this whole process, the effort that you are taking to decolonize is a simple frustration. Okay, she says that this whole decolonizing, she's so clear with her theory. This whole process of decolonizing is a complete impossible no. Okay, and she says that any engagement that you are doing with decolonization, it means that you are getting involved with colonial project. Okay, she says that when you're trying to decolonize, to a large extent you are dealing some part of the colonial thought. Okay, so she says that complete decolonization is not possible. Okay, fully it's not possible. Maybe you try a lot, but in the whole process again you will be seeking for some help from the colonial thoughts. So the whole process won't go such straight. So this was a direct attack on Namvar Singh's decolonizing. Okay. Now with time, okay, we saw that that many critics, they said that yes, decolonization can happen. Some said that Wathang said that we have to develop strategies of resisting some typical colonial texts, we have to resist. Okay. um, and we have to study how this whole process could happen, how decolonization could really happen. We have to make a very much objective study. Okay. But again you see that there are some threats when we try to redevelop, when we are in the process of decolonizing, there are problems. And people like Gayatri Spivak, they are not very optimistic about this whole process of decolonizing. Anyway, so there are arguments from the two sides. Now we see that what our literature says about the whole process. And uh, we have read so many theories how colonization took place. We have already done that, how how culturally we were dominated, how administration tried to capture us, and how they were trying to show themselves as imperialists, the superior most. Okay, so then as a result of this, all these thoughts came the Orientalism, the book of Said. And then Said again gave way to some more thoughts, which relates to the third world thoughts, or you may say exactly the post colonial theories. Under the umbrella of post colonial theories comes the third world literature, comes subaltern studies, all these things come under post colonial theory. Okay. Now we will go through a little bit of typical post-colonial readings. First, there's this very thin book, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Okay, here Conrad, it was published in 1977, and Conrad talks very, in his novel, it's a very small novel. It's called a novella rather. He talks about Africa, and Heart of Darkness is the Congo. Okay, where he sees a lot of imperial domination, how the people are mistreated by the by the imperialist officers, and how they still exist in blind beliefs. People of Africa, that is shown by Joseph Conrad. So these novels actually, they initiated the post-colonial thinking, where the British were directly attacked for their hostilities, for their mistreatment of the colonized people. Okay. Similarly, Chinua Achebe also, she writes a very famous essay, An Image of Africa,
When,
racism. Yes.
when things fall apart.
Things, yes, yes, Chinua Achebe has written Things Fall Apart, but Achebe makes a criticism of Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Conrad is actually not black, okay, or Conrad doesn't belong to any post colonial country. Conrad is Polish, Poland, a place very much close to Russia. And I think the place where he lived was later occupied by Russia also. And then Conrad moved from that part of Poland, and Russia occupied Poland, and he came to Britain. And then he, got the citizenship of Britain. And he loved traveling, he loved to move in the voyage. So he used to work for the British, in their what do you say, that carriage voyages, the carry goods. So while he was carrying goods from and to Congo from Africa, he gains some experience of how these people of Africa mistreated by British people. And then he writes Heart of Darkness. Now, we are saying that this is one of the, Conrad is one of the initiators of post-colonial novels, but Achebe attacks. Achebe says that you are not an African man, not a, not a black man. How could you write about blacks? How much do you know about blacks when you yourself, you have fled from your country, you have gained British citizenship? How could you write about the domination? So Achebe says that through this novel, Heart of Darkness, Conrad is to some extent justifying the white man's mentality. Achebe's argument is this. But Conrad is, nowadays read mostly as post-colonial literature. Okay, who talks about the condition of the African people, and he says that that Congo is the heart of darkness. It doesn't talk anything positive about British. It says how they were exploiting this, knave and simple black. So there was an argument. There was a retaliation by Achebe. Uh, okay, but still, as time passes, we have more, we side off more towards Conrad. Okay. Yes, you will find here in your material that how he's othering Africa, and how more debate is going on. But later now I teach in different university also. This whole novel I teach, and uh, but I teach my student to consider more uh, as a post-colonial novel. Okay, and not much as a a biased novel. No, uh, Conrad to a large extent has his sympathies towards Africa. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It is in MEG-3, Marlowe, Mr. Marlowe.
Yes, Marlowe. Yeah, you have read, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Marlowe. Yes. What Marlowe? Stephen Marlowe. What's his full name? Stephen Marlowe, no?
Yes, ma'am. And Coots.
Kurtz, not Kurtz.
Yes,
Kurtz.
Kurtz.
Yes, Kurtz. General Kurtz. Okay. So, no, I teach in a different university. So, they have this whole thing and I teach them. Anyway, so this was about Heart of Darkness. Now, we see Passage to India. I think you have read Passage to India as well, those who are
PM
coming.
Foster.
Yes, E.M. Foster's. Now, again, there are commentaries of regarding E.M. Foster, and again, it gives the same kind of attack that E.M. Foster is not an Indian, and he writes about India. Same perspective you find here, and so how much sympathy will you have for the Indian? Same as Conrad has for Africa. But again, we accept Passage to India as a post-colonial literature. Okay, so this is Jan Muhammad, Abdul R. Jan Muhammad in his essay the economy of munition allegory, the function of racial difference in colonial literature. What a big name. Uh, uh, Now, this was a critical work published in 1985. Okay, race, writing, and difference. Here, Jan Muhammad claims. Okay, he is showing his concern, and he is very critical about this Foster's perspective, because you may call that a colonialist literature. Okay, and he says that colonial literature um, mm, does not take into account the political context of culture and history. So he is saying to in a general sense, okay, that colonialist literature won't go to the colonized country's culture or history. It won't go. Okay, and the colonialist literature properly avoids to talk about the culture or society of the colonial country. Okay, so that is what he is claiming. He is claiming that when colonialist literature, you are a colonial man. Okay, and when you are talking, you are making a literature. Usually, colonialist literature doesn't talk about the culture or society of the colonialist country. How have you done that? And if you have done that, how well have you tried to justify it? Okay, so this is the general question that comes down to E.M. Foster's. Okay, and he says that Foster, no, if you have read the novel, then Foster talks about the cave when this British lady and Aziz, this
Yes.
lady that yes, she feels that she has been sexually abused by Aziz. And do you know, if you have read the novel, you will see Foster keeps that vague. Really, if Aziz has done or not, nobody knows. So, this is a question. So, if you talk about the country and if you are silent on some aspect, though, through readings, we can feel that no, Aziz has not done anything. But directly, E.M. Foster has nowhere written that. Okay. So, is that a colonial mind that you are trying to keep purposefully, you're trying to keep it vague? Means maybe that has happened. So here, even though if you want to write like a post-colonial from the post-colonial perspective, but your colonial identity comes in between when you are very much unclear about what you are trying to say. Is the Indian man really ridiculous, or the lady develops it in her mind? What is it? Why have you kept that vague? So is that a colonial man coming here, okay, to defend your woman? So here, when according to these critics, actually, When you belong to a different position, suppose you are from the colonial side, you won't be able to be completely clear by depicting the colonialized person's identity. This is what Jan Muhammad in case of em foster's passage to India, and Chinua Achebe in case of Conrad is trying to suggest. Okay. Now, then how do you think we can resist how can we fight back? Okay, when they are talking about us, they are creating our story. Okay, then what should we do? So here the answer comes in the last towards the last part of your section. Says that first you have to decolonize yourself again. Number Singh's point of view will come to the forefront. Intellectually, psychologically, you have to free yourself from their from their domination. Maybe they are gone 70, 75 years back, but still they are in your mind. When you're blindly following their food habits, when you're blindly imagining yourself to be placed in London or Liverpool or those places, if you are fantasizing those places, or if you love their dressing system, okay, or to some extent you have awe for them and their culture, so you are still colonialized. You have to first psychology decolonialize yourself, and then you have to write from your location. Why should anyone write your story? If you won't write your story, somebody else will write your story. But you can admit that won't be able to write like you do. You talk about yourself. Okay, so this is what the last section is trying to suggest. Try to create our own literature. Okay, like Tagore did, he had given, like Anand Murthy did, he wrote Samskar. Okay, just see how these books, how these literatures are very much rooted to our country. Okay, so how they represent a typical India without bias, without any with any mimicry from the West. Okay, we have created our own literature with the help of our own culture and mythology. Okay, so this is what will contribute to the making of a post-colonial literature. Okay. Uh, yes. Yes, this is all it is saying, that we have to talk about ourselves. We have to, voice our stories, our locations, because whether if it is E.M. Foster or Conrad in case of representation of Africa, there will be, knowingly or unknowingly, there will be little bit a tinge of racism, you may call, that may be there. Okay, because you are not writing for yourself, somebody else is writing for yourself. So do create your own writings from your locations, get unbiased from their influence, write and represent whatever is typically Indian, your own culture, your own tradition, your own mythology, your own body of study is very rich. Okay, so stay stuck to it. And in this way you can become a part of the post-colonial body of literature. Got it, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So tomorrow
Yes.
will be more or less a winding up, and with that block 5, I think it is, I remember, block 5 was I have not touched that, and I'll be doing that because, as I told you, it is repetition of the same things. So I'll do a little bit of that, and then we will wind up with the whole thing, so that you understand the whole impact, the coming, the evolution, and then how we developed. Okay, how we hit back our from our own literature to the colonial counterpart, that we will wind up by discussing all those things. Okay, Now I think it's time I must leave. 2 hours is a long, long time. So,
Thank
okay. Uh, Thank you, students. We'll meet tomorrow, same time. And tomorrow will be our last lecture. Then you'll be going over to other teachers. Okay. Now you may leave. Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah.